So today's workshop is supporting students in exploring dual enrollment and early college opportunities. And I'm very excited to introduce you to Amy Dodge, who's the post-secondary program coordinator at the Vermont Agency of Education. Amy works to support school districts and students in exploring and accessing post-secondary pathways, which includes dual enrollment and early college opportunities. With a background as a student advisor, college counselor, and college instructor, Amy brings a broad perspective to her work, having advised students at both the high school and college levels. Her experience in advising and teaching allows her to help students and schools navigate this transition from high school to higher education with confidence and clarity. So thank you all for joining us today, and thank you, Amy, for being here.
Thank you, Krista. What a wonderful introduction. I'm going to share my screen. Welcome, everybody. Glad you're here today. Make sure I have sound on. Here we go. All right. So welcome to this session. As Krista so nicely pointed out, we're going to be talking about supporting students in exploring dual enrollment and early college. And I'm going to throw in a little bit about the Fast Forward program as well, just so that you have all the post-secondary options for students in Vermont. Okay, Amy Dodge, we already had a wonderful introduction, so I'm going to skip over this slide. We'll take a look at our agenda today. Oh, hold on. We're going to talk about college and high school. So dual enrollment, Fast Forward, which is a program that's offered in CTE centers across Vermont, and early college. We're also going to touch base on supports specific to special education. We have a wonderful document that's linked in this PowerPoint that you'll receive a copy of later, dual enrollment and early college implications for special education. And I'm also going to show you to our wonderful toolkit, which has great resources for both parents, students, and local school districts. Okay, so let's get started with talking about dual enrollment. So dual enrollment is a program for Vermont students in grades 11 and 12. Every eligible student can receive 2 vouchers to cover the tuition cost for courses up to 4 credits each. To be eligible to take dual enrollment courses, students must be a Vermont resident who has completed grade 10 and has not received a high school diploma, and they must be publicly funded in an adult diploma program or a home study student. So I'm going to clarify a little bit about publicly funded. The student's tuition needs to be paid for by their sending school district. So if you're attending a private independent school and you're covering the cost of tuition for your student, they would not be eligible for dual enrollment. Home study students need to be enrolled in the home study program, and they need to complete a minimum course of study. And that's sent to the Agency of Education. I deal with most home study students and their registration. So those we check for home study enrollment and review MCASs for dual enrollment. Dual enrollment credits earned will be considered and accepted at most in-state colleges. So there's 9 colleges in Vermont that participate in dual enrollment, and they sign a participation agreement that says that they will accept any dual enrollment courses from any of the 9 participating colleges. Students seeking to transfer their dual enrollment credits to colleges or universities located out of state should connect with those colleges first and, review their plan, talk about whether the courses will transfer nicely. We can't guarantee transferring out of state, but so it's good to check with those colleges. Many do take them. So, but just to be safe, to get the most bang for your buck, it's always good to check if you have a plan already developed for your degree, to check with those colleges first. So in order to access the dual enrollment program and get vouchers to cover the cost of tuition, you need to use the dual enrollment system. And that's linked. I have a nice link here on the screen for the dual enrollment webpage, which has all this information on it, as well as the link to access the dual enrollment system. So you create an account in the dual enrollment system. Your sending school district will approve that account. home study students, it'll be the Agency of Education approves that account after reviewing the minimum course of study and home study enrollment. And then you would, from there, request vouchers, and your sending school district will, or the Agency of Education will approve those vouchers. There are stipends available for students who participate in dual enrollment. What happens is when the students request a voucher, the secondary school coordinator or the Agency of Education reviews the voucher. And if a student is financially eligible for free and reduced lunch, and they will incur out-of-pocket expenses, there's a $150 stipend that is sent directly from the Vermont Student Assistance Corporation to the student's home. So if you're eligible for free and reduced lunch, and you're going to incur out-of-pocket expenses, there's a stipend of $150 available for students participating in dual enrollment. Students can, we'll talk about like dropping out of a course, which we don't want to happen, but it does happen. If students decide that they do not want to participate in their dual enrollment course, and they decide prior to the add drop period, their vouchers will be given back to them. So if they enter the course, they decide prior to the add drop period that they are that's not the right course for them, they can withdraw from the course without receiving a grade, and they can have their voucher returned to them. If students decide to not participate in their course after the add drop period, they will receive a W or a grade depending on when they do decide to withdraw, and their dual enrollment voucher would be expended. Remedial coursework, that's always a great question, especially with students who could use a little bit of extra help. Dual enrollment courses do not cover remedial courses, so they have to be college credit bearing courses. We recommend, and we'll talk about this when we look at the Flexible Pathways Toolkit, we recommend that high schools or parents look into these remedial courses well in advance of deciding to participate in dual enrollment, early college, or fast forward. Planning early is key. Any of these post-secondary options, I can't emphasize that enough. The sooner you start thinking about it, the sooner you start asking the questions and preparing, the better off every student's going to be in all three of these programs. All right, now I'm going to skip on to fast forward, and this is kind of quick because it's very similar to dual enrollment, except for this happens in tech centers across from. So fast forward is like dual enrollment. It is available to select 10th graders, however, where dual enrollment is not available for 10th graders and 11th and 12th graders at certain career and technical education programs. Eligibility requirements vary depending on the CTE program and the fast forward course. So they're a little bit more specific. Generally, students must have qualifying work key scores, Accuplacer scores, or provide other qualifying information to enroll in a fast forward course. So fast forward courses happen in a tech center, and they're taught by CTE instructors that are adjunct faculty members at either CCV or VTSU, so Community College of Vermont or Vermont State University. Those are the only two colleges that provide fast forward courses at CTE centers. Students who attend CTE centers and meet college eligibility requirements can access between 1 and 3 fast forward courses per semester. So this is a really great opportunity. So they could take 1 to 3 courses, which is different than dual enrollment, and they also can still use their dual enrollment vouchers. So students at CTE centers can take 1 to 3 courses, fast forward courses, and then they can also take dual enrollment courses at one of the 9 different colleges. So they get 2 opportunities in one. And again, with fast forward, just like dual enrollment and early college, you need to request an account and vouchers in the dual enrollment system.
Amy, just at Related to that, a question came in
Yeah,
about whether you need to be attending a publicly funded school for the Fast Forward program. I think what you're just talking about with vouchers sort of relates to that, but could you?
that's a great question. Yeah, so CTE centers and fast forward courses are different. So we do request that students request vouchers for fast forward, but there are exceptions for students that are not publicly funded in CTE centers, and they're recorded differently, but those students are able to participate in fast forward. Though they wouldn't request a voucher, but they're not denied participation. So
Right.
fast forward courses are taught, they're paid with federal Perkins funds. So how the funding is different, which makes it a little different than dual enrollment. They're funded per class. So they're not funded per student. So we're allowed to keep a separate sheet of students who participate in those courses and receive credit, and send, with our federal list. Did that answer that question okay?
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Any other questions about dual enrollment and fast forward?
And folks, we're a small group, so you could unmute and ask your question if you have one, or you could drop it into the chat.
I think I'm going to move on. If you think of something, do not hesitate. Unmute, pop it in the chat. Now we're going to talk a little bit about early college. So we're going to talk about, these are just some highlights of the program. Vermont's early college program gives eligible high school students a chance to spend their entire 12th grade year taking college courses. Students can apply at one of 3 colleges. So that's a Community College of Vermont, Norwich University, or Vermont State University. During this time, they earn college credits, finish their high school graduation requirements, and get a head start on a college degree, all tuition free. Students who successfully finish early college meet all high school graduation requirements, receive their high school diploma, and earn college credit. So I'm going to quickly show you a video that we created with student voice that's just amazing. I'm hoping I can play it with no glitch. Let me know if you can hear it.
Honestly,
Krista, can you hear it?
All good.
just wanted a new experience for school,
I was ready to get out of my bubble.
ready for a new environment.
Because I wanted to get a head start on my education.
I didn't want to sit in a high school classroom anymore.
It was a great opportunity to broaden my horizon and careers in the future.
I decided to do early college because I was ready to take the next step in my education.
Vermont's early college program gives eligible high school students the chance to spend their entire 12th grade year taking college courses full-time. They'll earn college credit, complete any of their high school graduation requirements, and get a jump start on their college degree.
I was really nervous, honestly, to be missing out on my senior year, but then you meet so many new people.
I didn't even think I was going to go to college. I visited here and I said, I want to just jump into it.
You can go remote like me, or you can go in person as well. And it gave me the freedom to get a job, hang out with my friends, do the activities at my school while still doing college.
I've been homeschooled up to this year, 10 years. I said, hey, I'd like to look for something a little more structured, a little more involved.
I was looking for a different way to take control over what I do with my day.
I realized how great of an opportunity it was because you could graduate potentially early and save money.
It's free. There's actually the best word for it. It is free.
I didn't want to go into debt. So hearing that it was free, it was like, okay, like I can do this.
It allows me to be more financially free when I get out of here. I'm pretty excited to jump into a career.
This program was designed to help more students graduate from high school, be ready for college and training programs, and to extend their learning after high school.
I mean, literally, it has made me a more confident person. I feel like I can do things like this, where I can speak about my experience.
It's been able to help me gradually move from what is expected in high school to like what is expected in college.
You don't have to be a straight A honor student. You can be the average person who just wants a degree and goes and gets it.
You can still do sports or theater or whatever you do through your high school.
and it's much more flexible than high school. Instead of meeting every day, you meet like once or twice a week. I can take online, in person.
Practice my study habits, time management, while also still getting to be at home. Nobody in my family has a college degree.
I was the first early college student to ever be in the Corps of Cadets at North University.
This is the college I like, the college that I can do either at home at my kitchen table or here in a space like this.
It allows you to have a job and take care of your family or spend time with friends.
Early college has really helped me figure out where I want to go in the future.
I am very excited to start my own in-home bakery kind of thing.
So I'm from Iraq and I kind of want to go and work towards the U.S. Embassy that's in Baghdad, which is where I was born.
I graduate from here in May, and then I'm going to transfer to the Berklee College of Music.
I think it's just made me broaden my vision of what I want to do and what is available to me.
And I get to now go on to a bachelor's degree. I have the experience, I have the classes, I have, well, the finances and everything too. So it's been pretty darn awesome.
All right. Gives me the chills to watch that video. I love it. I love our students. All right, so there's a little video on early college. Here's some of the reasons that our students came back and why they chose early college. Experiences college and exploring career paths without taking on debt, wanting a rigorous academic challenge, learning in a different environment with more flexible schedules, taking classes that aren't offered at high school, and gaining confidence. So pretty cool. All right, so we're going to do talk about some general considerations when it comes to early college. Student eligibility, early college and the dual enrollment system. So we talked about requesting vouchers for dual enrollment and fast forward. You also need to request vouchers for early college. Students need to either create an account if they didn't have an account for dual enrollment, and they need to update their profile and select what program they're in. So in their profile, they can select dual enrollment, early college, or fast forward. You can only participate in early college and not dual enrollment or fast forward at the same time, but you can participate in dual enrollment and fast forward at the same time, like I mentioned before. Eligibility. So students are eligible to access the early college program if they are a resident of Vermont, they are a 12th grade student, and have permission from their high school or home study program. So early college needs to be an element written into their personalized learning plan. For home study students, that would be their minimum course of study. And students are eligible if they're publicly funded, the same for dual enrollment. So that would apply for students whose tuition is paid by the family. They would not be eligible. Students have to attend or be publicly funded in their junior year in order to participate their senior year. So home study students would need to be home study students in their junior year in order to participate in their senior year. Readiness, the criteria and process for determining if a student is ready for post-secondary classes is determined currently by the high school in partnership with the college. To support, we're going to talk about the toolkit later, but we do have some great resources in the toolkit to help you determine readiness for the program. We'll cover that in a little bit. Very helpful for parents, students, and the local LEA, the local schools. Limitations. So since the early college program is designed to replace a student's senior year, like I mentioned before, dual enrollment and fast forward vouchers cannot be used at the same time. Dual enrollment vouchers may be used prior to early college, but not during or after early college completion. So another we talked about with dual enrollment limitation is remedial coursework. So you can't take remedial courses while participating in early college. All early college courses have to be college credit bearing courses that work towards, that would apply to a degree, a college degree, or a high school transcript. Then expectations and requirements. So in early college, there is the expectation that all students participate full-time for a full year. So when you register for early college, you submit your application, you need to be prepared to be to participate full-time, which is taking 4 to 5 courses per semester for 2 semesters, and it needs to be at the same institution. So if you're attending, CCV, Norwich, or VTSU, you can only take courses full-time, full year at one of those colleges. Okay. I'm just looking at my notes real quick. Thank you. Let's move on to our next slide. I don't want to miss anything. Participation process, we covered that a little bit. High school students must have early college written into their personalized learning plan or their minimum course of study. Students must get permission from their high school principal or the Agency of Education for home study students. Another thing to note, when principals approve participation in an early college program, they agree to waive any senior mandated courses, projects, or requirements. So that's something to have a discussion and make sure that you're on the same page with your high school, but they do agree in their participation agreement that they're going to waive those requirements. Students apply for admissions into the early college program in the January, sometime January, February. So you need to really start thinking about early college when you start your junior year of high school. So students should start preparing at the very beginning of their junior year, because school goes by fast, and spring semester is when you start applying to those 3 colleges if you're interested. Once you're accepted into an early college program, you're enrolled in your high school at the beginning of the school year, but then once the college program starts, you unenroll from your high school. You then participate in your early college program. When the early college program is over, you re-enroll in your high school in order to receive your diploma. So this is a really good thing to know and to think of. If you're an early college student, you are unenrolled from your high school. We'll talk more about that how that applies to students who receive special services when it comes to early college. Okay, so for home study students, we've talked about this a little bit before, but specifically, you need to be enrolled in a home study program in a Vermont home study program in your junior year, or your third year of high school home study, because we don't go by grade in home study. So your second to last year of home study, you need to participate in be enrolled in the home study program, and you need to complete a minimum course of study. And in that minimum course of study, if you're participating in early college, you would want to meet with the college and start planning out your year, your school year, your full-time year in the college, and indicate the courses that you intend to participate in for that full year. The idea behind a personalized learning plan and a minimum course of study for home study students is to really start planning and thinking about the purpose of what you're doing. So in the minimum course of study for an early college student, we like to see the 10 to 12 courses that you think would work for you throughout your early college experience. We completely understand how things change, how tracks change, but when you're applying and when you're starting your early college experience, we want you to come into that with a plan. Early college and extracurricular activities. So we get a lot of questions about, so I'm an early college student, I'm unenrolled from high school. Can I participate in choir or soccer, or can I attend an art class at my school if it fits into my schedule? The answer, as far as the Agency of Education is concerned, is yes, but the real answer comes from your high school or your college. So if you're wishing to participate in extracurricular activities at your high school, you want to connect with the high school before you enroll in an early college program and have the discussion to make sure that this is going to work for you. If you'd like to participate in a college level extracurricular activity, you go to the college and you ask them. So in past years, students who participated in CT or attended CTE centers could concurrently participate in early college to continue their CTE program. That is no longer allowed. So when you're in early college, you can only be in early college. You can't be enrolled in a CTE center or a high school. scholarships. So for early, we talked about stipends for dual enrollment. There are some scholarships or stipends for early college students as well. It's not, there is financial aid, but it's not the same as a college, a student who has matriculated into college. So again, to be eligible for financial aid as an early college student, you need to complete the FAFSA and you need to complete the Vermont grant through the Vermont Student Assistance Corporation. If you complete those two components and you're found to be financially eligible, you can receive up to $1,000 split between the two semesters, so $500 a semester. And you also receive that $150 stipend that all dual enrollment students receive. So the potential for financial aid with early college is $1,300. So if you found eligible, there is some support for financial aid to cover the cost. So if early college covers the cost of tuition, it doesn't cover the cost of books and supplies or, travel, any of that. This money, if you're eligible, will support the needs for books and supplies and such. As with dual enrollment, the 3 colleges that participate in early college have agreed that if you take courses at their college, they will automatically transfer to the other 2 colleges. Outside of the state or outside of the program, it's best to check with those colleges prior to taking the courses in order to ensure that those courses will transfer. Early college, you need to request the vouchers. We already talked about that on the dual enrollment system. Those are approved by you, the school counselor at your sending school, or the Agency of Education if you're a home study student. Okay. Oh, I didn't move on to this slide. So request a DE system account. It gets approved. Complete your profile. Indicate your program. Find your course. Request your course, high school counselor approves it, dual enrollment student registers for the course, that's early college students register for their course. Home study works with AOE directly. All right, do we have any questions about early college?
Amy, there is a question in the chat. I wonder if you might get to it in this part of your presentation because it's around documentation that colleges require in order to provide accommodations for students that might be on 504 IAP plans.
Yes, correct. And they do review each college. I'll just answer it right now and we'll probably hit on it a little bit later. So each of the 3 colleges have different requirements for what they ask for. You would want to have your 504 plan ready and any supporting documents to support the 504 plan. You can also share, I know CCV looks at IEPs as well. So Norwich and VTSU have different plans, but that you would check in with the ADA office prior to, enrolling or looking into early college. Okay, so linked here in the oh my goodness, PowerPoint is the document that we created myself along with the special education team at the AOE outlining implications for special ed for dual enrollment in early college. So this is a great link that I encourage you to look at. So we're going to talk about, let me go back one. The purpose first. So the purpose of this document is to articulate the difference between special education IEP services and college accommodations. So we'll start with the difference between a PLP and an IEP. So PLPs for dual enrollment in early college programs are intended for eligible students, while IEP articulates the supports and services that would help a student in special education access the general education curriculum. There are no special education services offered through post-secondary institutions. Instead, students would have access to the same services that student support offices, the ADA office, offers any matriculating student at the college. So IEP teams should strive to build the students. This is really important, and this is why we want to start talking about this very early in your high school career. IEP teams should strive to build the student skills that they think they will need to be successful in a dual enrollment or early college program. Talk a little bit about considerations for the IEP team. This was one of the questions that we had prior to this presentation. It's important for IEP teams to understand that early college requires students to unenroll from their high school. So this means that if a student is on an IEP and unenrolls from their high school, they will no longer have access to special education services. Dual enrollment students do not need to unenroll from their home high school and will keep their special education services at their home high school. However, it's important to remember that special education services do not apply to post-secondary coursework. So if you're in your dual enrollment program, you still have your IEP team, but they can't directly support you in your post-secondary coursework. Instead, students who are in dual enrollment or early college have access to the student support office or the ADA office at the college, and they can assist with any accommodations the student may need. So IEP teams are encouraged to consider the following. I'm kind of just highlighting this implication sheet for you all today. How can IEPs support participation in dual enrollment and early college experience? So they need to think about this. How can the IEP team support this participation? They need to think about that ahead of time. For early college, there would no longer be an IEP team. So you need to think about that. With dual enrollment, there still would be a team, and how can they support them without specifically being in the course? And for those students attending early college, they need to recognize that they can't. There is no more IEP team. How can the IEP team promote and measure progress toward goal attainment? So IEP teams should think about that. What sorts of rubrics can they put together to promote and measure progress and support these students? If a student receives approval to participate in dual enrollment or early college, has he or she visited the college and met staff from the support office? What accommodations might be set up? So we talked about this a little bit. It's IEP teams, families, students should think about connecting with they should connect with the college prior to the experience, prior to the program starting. Incorporating your IEP team into that is really important. For students in dual enrollment, are there skills that they should be practicing that are articulated in their transition plan? For example, skills like self-advocacy and executive functioning can be worked on while they are doing dual enrollment on their own. The student can report back to the IEP team on this. So you can still have the conversations, you can support them, and how do you ask these questions? How do you talk to your instructor? Are there reasonable accommodations that appear to be very challenging for the college to provide? How will that be addressed? So again, these are things that IEP teams are thinking about. They should have discussions about. And we have a tool to support these teams in making these decisions that I'll share later. How will students manage their time on campus? We say, and also in the same, how will students manage their time in an online class? Because we all know, online classes have their own intricacies that we need to think about. For students who are deaf or hard of hearing, does the college offer interpreter service? For students with mobility impairments, is the college campus accessible? These are all questions that your team should discuss and talk about. What process will the IEP team use to follow up and monitor progress in the dual enrollment course? Move to the next, we'll start talking about accommodations. So post-secondary institutions do not provide IDEA modifications. Students with disabilities meet the prerequisites of a course, may be provided with reasonable accommodations through a 504 plan or an ADA plan that allows equal access. However, colleges will not provide modifications to change course content or performance expectations that would substantially alter the essential elements of the course. Students need to understand that not all accommodations available at high school will be allowed at post-secondary institutions. So that's a biggie. That's a big difference from high school to college. So we'll talk about the pre-application stage and the recommended process for IEP teams. So if you're joining our presentation today as a parent, these are things that you can bring with you when you go to your team meetings. If you're participating as a member of an IEP team, these are things that you can think about. So IEP teams meet before the student applies for a DE course or an early college, a dual enrollment course or an early college experience to determine if the program presents a good learning opportunity for the student. The case manager or school counselor may wish to talk to the college admissions office or the student support office. So IEP teams can reach out and talk to each of the college's ADA offices and ask questions. Parents can reach out, students can reach out. Don't let it intimidate you. It's important to reach out and talk to the college about your questions and your concerns. The student shares PLP goal, or if your home study minimum course of study goals, or of courses they want to participate in the programs, either dual enrollment or IEP team. So students should come in with their goal. You should have a conversation about why are you taking this course? What is your goal? What is the end game here? There should be a guidance counselor or flexible pathways coordinator included on the IEP team. IEP team members review the appropriateness of participation in dual enrollment or early college courses, as well as what is offered through the college student support office. So these things, again, need to be reviewed. IEP teams decide whether the course or the program offered at the college is an appropriate educational setting for the student based on information provided by the college. If the IEP team supports it, then the team may recommend that the student apply. The IEP team understands that if a student does early college, then they will be unenrolled from the high school and the student will no longer have an IEP or IEP team. Move to the application acceptance stage of supporting students. Approval for dual enrollment in early college program comes from the school principal or designee. So when thinking about approving and approval considerations, these are just some things that our school principals, IEP teams, families should think about. Has the student reviewed and provided feedback on the dual enrollment or experience or early college experience? So in the toolkit, which I'm going to show you next, we have planning checklists, we have talking points, we have participation tools to support you in this. Does the student meet established readiness requirements? So those are, have they met all the prerequisites? Have they taken the acuplacers? Have they done what the college expects of all students who participate in these programs? Does the course present a good learning opportunity for the student? Have available accommodations through the college student support office been considered in the decision? Does the IEP team support the student in applying? So after all these are discussed and talked about by the IEP team, they provide their feedback to the principal, and the principal would approve their decision. They request an account and vouchers in the dual enrollment system. If a student enrolls in a dual enrollment course, the services outlined in the IEP must still be delivered at the home high school. Please remember that special education services do not apply to post-secondary coursework. So they can still receive their services to, enhance that self-efficacy and note-taking and time management, but they can't directly work with the student in the course. The post-secondary institution or local high school may not deny admissions based solely on disability. Admissions may only be denied for other objective reasons, such as not meeting the academic requirements or prerequisites. Do we have any questions before we move on to the toolkit?
I don't see any in the chat.
Okay. Good water. Right. So I mentioned several times actually, the Flexible Pathways Toolkit. Here's a link to the whole toolkit. And in the toolkit, we cover dual enrollment, early college, CTE, center and fast forward, work-based learning, virtual blended learning. So there's lots of all these tools for all these different flexible pathways. Let me see if I can. So for dual enrollment, we have, let me go right in here. Let's go to the flexible pathways talking points. Let's sneak in there real quick. I'll give you an overview of that. Do it this way. Okay, so to get to the dual enrollment early college pages, if you don't have these links with you, just type in Vermont dual enrollment or Vermont early college, and this is the first page that pops up. And on the side, you can flip through all the different options. But we'll go first to dual enrollment toolkit resources. And like I mentioned, here is the whole toolkit for you guys. So we have a local level guide and tool. So these tools here, there's a facilitation guide and a tool, and this is for schools to use to, create a equitable, say, rubric for students who are participating in flexible pathways. It walks you through all the different questions for both for special education for all students. So it incorporates all the important questions that a school needs to answer. And you can use this tool to create a rubric that you can use on any student. So if you have a lot of students who participate in English composition at your school, and you want to transfer that experience into proficiencies, this tool will help the schools determine what proficiencies can be met in each flexible pathways. And then we also have the same tool for school counselors or flexible pathway coordinators to use with their students. The schools have the facilitation guide, and then there's a tool for the student. And this is all the questions that should be asked when considering any flexible pathway that a student is interested in. Then we'll move down to universal samples and talking points. So here's career and tech education. Here's a student sample of this tool up here that I pointed out. So there's a sample for each one of them. And then there's talking points. We'll move to dual enrollment. Dual enrollment has flexible pathways, talking points, and a planning checklist. Peek in here real quick so you can get an idea of what this is. This is great for school counselors or parents to use. You can give your student this document, and this is the questions, like, why do you want to do dual enrollment? And if they have any questions, they can check it off, like, oh, or this is why I'm doing it. Are you ready for dual enrollment? You can talk about readiness, has the links that you can go to ask to answer your questions. Do you have all the different things you need to have to participate in dual enrollment? Have you thought about these different things? Have you scheduled a college, or have you done this? Did you know? So there's one of these documents for each of the flexible pathways that are prominent in the dual enrollment program. And then we have it for early college. And here we'll take a look at the planning checklist for early college. There's one for dual enrollment as well. Let's take a peek in here real quick. So program overview, considerations that can lead to success in early college. So here's all the different tools that you can use to support students in thinking about early college. And then it outlines when you do it. So fall of grade 11, spring of grade 11, summer following grade 11, right into what you do while you're in the program. So it's all here for students. It's a little calendar kind of for them to use. And there's also one of these for dual enrollment. Come back to our presentation and see if I missed anything. Does anybody have any questions about the Flexible Pathway Toolkit? These can be shared Everything in here can be shared with students, shared with parents can ask, look at it, ask questions of their school counselors.
No questions in the chat, Amy? And we're just under 15 minutes.
Okay, so let's go. We'll talk about timeline. So here's a timeline for all the different options, post-secondary options that we offer from the state. So we have the dual enrollment. So what should you do in 7th grade? This can start as early as middle school, but we'll talk 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, different ways to prepare, and this is when you're eligible. Early college, same thing, eligible application in your 11th grade year, eligible in your 12th. Fast forward, that starts a little bit earlier. Students can participate in fast forward as early as 10th grade in some CTE centers. Oh, go back, sorry, I'm getting happy with my mouse here. This is another course that I highly, highly, highly recommend. If I could, it used to be that all students had to take this course in order to participate in any of these programs. That's no longer the case. But I can't emphasize enough how much the Introduction to College and Career course that is free to any student. You don't need a voucher. It's a free course. It's offered by CCV. It's offered in some schools. It's offered in all centers, and it is offered online. So this is a really great course to get students prepared for participating in any post-secondary opportunity. They have different modules that cover everything from note-taking to self-advocacy. So you also, if you're planning on attending the Community College of Vermont as a dual enrollment or early college student, you have to apply and actually become a college student to participate in the Introduction to College and Career course. And that gives you one step further into the process of being a college student. So it's kind of an exciting course. Overarching resources, we have the Flexible Pathway Toolkit, the Vermont Dual Enrollment Program, Early College, Career Tech, Vermont Virtual Learning Cooperative. They're all linked here with more information for you. Checking my notes, and that's it. That's my final thoughts. I'm on to that. Do we have any questions? I know I just gave you a lot of information.
Thank you so much, Amy. It was a lot of information, but you did such a nice job of sharing it in a way that makes it really easy to digest. And having access to the presentation after is going to be great. I'm going to insert into the chat an evaluation that we'd like folks to just take a minute to fill out as we conclude the presentation. And while people are doing that, I wanted to just add links to 2 resources that might be helpful. We had a question come in before the workshop about access for students that were nonverbal. And so I just wanted to share 2 resources that you may or may not be aware of. The first is about the Vermont Assistive Technology Program. And the second is for the Disability Aging and Independent Living site through the state of Vermont, which the link is specifically to services for deaf, hard of hearing, and deafblind folks. Both of those places can provide additional information and support in addition to the IEP team and the resources you have at school. But
higher ability counselors.
Yep. And I think I mentioned that a little bit earlier in the chat as well.
And I do I have my email address up here. I am always open for questions. And if I don't have the answers, I can help you find the answers. So I work specifically with post-secondary options. I don't specifically work with special education in my department, but I am close with our special education and higher ability. And I'd be happy to connect and answer any questions. And it doesn't save my email address. If you have a student who's coming up and might be wanting to participate, I'm always happy to answer questions. I like feedback, so don't hesitate.
Thank you for that. And I'm going to add the contact information for Vermont Family Network into the chat. We do also have lots of resources on our website. We have a staff that will work directly one-on-one with families through our helpline. And then we have 2 closed Facebook pages, one for families of children with special healthcare needs and disabilities, and then another for families of adult children. And for folks in this transition age, they might find either or both of those Facebook pages to be useful as well.
Stop sharing.
Think.
You see some faces.
Yes, I think that is about it. Any other questions or thoughts folks have before we close the workshop?
You're welcome. Thank you all for coming today.
All right. And thank you, Amy, for being here and for being such a great resource. We really appreciate it. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Have a good day.